Little Nightmares 3 is a recently released indie horror game. In this video, I'll try to deliver a let's play with an elevated experience for you. In this episode, the confrontation between Law and Alone and the insect woman reaches its climax. Where will these struggles lead? My dear siblings, join me on this adventure. The stench of rotten candy filled the air. We had to get out of there before we threw up. The spilled sweets had turned the floor into a feast for those insects. Fortunately, they hated light. If we ever lost that light, we'd be torn apart and digested in seconds. Watching the scene made part of my theory clearer. Those bloated creatures were being used as labor in this candy factory. At least some of them. Maybe the rest were being turned into candy themselves. We dove into a sea of sweets. There are so many that moving forward was difficult. They formed hills and mountains of candy. At any moment, something could burst out from beneath them. Where were all these sweets actually used? The answer to that question, and many others, probably wasn't meant for us to know. Two of those bloated creatures were in the room. At least one of them didn't look alive anymore. They might have been covered with cloth, but I could guess they were the corpses of those bloated beings. We kept moving. We reached a spot that required 2 fuses. The frozen hand inside the freezer strengthened my suspicion. We obtained the first fuse. One of the bloated creatures was walking right above our heads. It collapsed to the ground. Even though it could wake up and lunge at us any second, we had no choice but to keep going. Both fuses clicked into place. We took the elevator back up. Balloon-like objects floated in the air. The door only opened when we were far from it, probably because of the camera. The drawer wouldn't stay in place. One of us had to hold it while the other climbed. That switch disabled the cameras. Another encounter with the insect woman. She looked furious about the disruption we'd caused. We had really pissed her off. Now she had fully transformed into an insect. And that meant she moved much faster. From this point on, we had to be far more careful. Was she crawling through the pipes? Yes, she was. One wrong step and we'd end up as candy too. The fact that the elevator had no door didn't help our nerves at all. She was hunting us relentlessly. How were we supposed to get rid of this one? There was nothing in the car to stand on. The candy saved us. Definitely not a good place to fall into. Death was breathing down our necks. Somehow we kept surviving these situations. I didn't think it was asking too much for the nightmare to finally end, but at the very least I hoped these narrow escapes would keep happening. What a stubborn creature. And that was the end of the insect woman. Another terror we had conquered. It looked like that room had been her wardrobe. Not anymore. Time to take down that portrait too. Who was laughing now? Another one of those mirrors stood in the room. It was time to leave this area. Either the end of the nightmare waited on the other side of the mirror, or another danger. We'll continue the story in the next episode. Thanks for watching.